And the good news is that there do appear to be very effective interventions to make sure that our muscles stay strong when we're losing weight. And those include making sure that we're eating enough protein, not necessarily a high protein diet. I want to make sure there's no confusion there. And that we're engaging in resistance exercise. When people's appetites are reduced, when they start a GLP-1 receptor agonist or similar medications, they eat less, and that generally includes less protein. And we need to be very cognizant of the fact that when people are losing weight, in fact, their need for protein may be higher than when they're not losing weight, believe it or not. The recommended daily allowance of protein intake for the average adult is pretty low. It's 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram
Per day.
of body weight per day. However, in a person who is actively, intentionally losing weight with a medication or otherwise, it's really recommended by a number of different scientific associations now that our target be higher, that we aim for between 1.2 and 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. And this can come from many different sources. It doesn't have to be just meat. Don't forget that dairy products, beans, nuts, many different grains, for example, are all excellent sources of protein. And we need to be intentional about the food choices that we're making, particularly if we're eating much less than we ordinarily would as the result of being on a medication.
Well, that's fantastic. I've always learned something from you, and I just learned something. And that is, I had no idea that, during active weight loss, with pharmacotherapy or with other means, that in fact your protein intake, if anything, should not just be sort of your standard metric of 0.8 to 1 sort of grams per kilogram per day, but if anything should be higher. And I think you've said that so beautifully, that, embrace a strategy that's going to be at the root of cardiometabolic sort of reprogramming, but embrace it with consistency and embrace it with, accountability to some extent, accountability to what you need to do. And your role, if you're an individual on this, should be to understand that, protein intake is important and resistance training is important. And those two important metrics can really help you holistically, I think, in sort of moving forward in terms of improving body composition and reducing cardiovascular risk, and of course, sort of long-term and maintaining muscle strength.